Right, good morning all of you. We'll start with the second lecture. I hope you revised your notes. Right, any doubts that you have? Then tell me. So we basically had, now pay attention, I'll start the class. Just 1 minute. So basically in the last class, you had first seen the separation of powers in the Constitution. I had drawn a diagram. You got to see that how the Constitution beautifully opens up in part 5 and part 6. Part 5 was for the center, tier of center. Part 6 was meant for the states. Separation of powers as a philosophy shall be taken up separately, I think, by Ravindran sir. So you've just started the idea. As a topic, he'll take it separately. Then the second thing, we had seen that the Attorney General resigns with the Prime Minister resigning. I'll touch upon that keyword which is called as convention today. Then we had started with the election, and I told you that whenever you find election in the Constitution, election of the President, election of the Vice President, election of the Member of the Parliament, election of the Member of State Legislature, two simple questions you need to always ask for the exam. First, there are more questions, but two questions are basic because you all are witnessing elections to the Lok Sabha now. So you need to know who are the electors and what's the mechanism. First is, who are the electors? Kaun chunav karega? Who are the electors? Second is, chunav kaise hoga? How the individual, how the post gets elected. In the last class, I had just touched upon the basic concept of proportional representation. That basically meant, in a very crude way to explain to a layman, that in proportional representation, we declare a person to be a winner in case if he gets certain least number of votes. That least number of votes is quite logically, have a thought on this, is dependent on the number of seats or number of vacancies that we have. The president is only one in my country. So that proportion quite logically without any formula becomes at least 50%. And the moment we keep on increasing the number of seats, the quota automatically reduces in that proportion. I gave the example of one class representative. We need to have 51 votes. If I want to choose two, then in that particular case, each of them would need to get 33 votes apiece each. If I want to choose three class representatives, then in that case, 25 each. In case I wanted 4, then automatically 20 each. That for the simple logic. Now I'll open up a single transferable vote as a topic, but I'd like to take something more. There's the handout is yet to be discussed. Yes, what's the doubt? Yes. Before 42nd Amendment, the President anyways had to work on the advice and aid of the Council of Ministers with the PM as the head. But after 42nd Amendment, any possibility of going haywire, any possibility of not following the advice was deleted by the Prime Minister, Mrs. Gandhi. She simply wrote it that he cannot work except he gets the advice. We just reiterate things sometimes. For example, secularism was always a part of my constitution in spirit. I did not write in the letter. Again, the 42nd Amendment clearly wrote in preamble that India is a secular country. It doesn't mean before that we were secular. That same logic applies to your question. Yes, what's the doubt here? Yes, have a seat. Yes. Yes. Yeah, 50% plus 1. Yeah. Yes. 66 for both. वो क्वेश्चन इरेलीवेंट है. दोनों एक साथ थोड़ी ना चुनाव लड़ेंगे. 2 सीटों के लिए चुनाव होगा. एक को 31 वोट लेने हैं कम से कम, जिसके आए वो विजेता. तो आपका ये सेकंड स्टेटमेंट ही इरेलीवेंट है. आया समझ में? जब 2 सीटों के लिए, आप मेरे से क्लास के बाद डिस्कस करना. Should I go ahead? Yes. Yes. Yeah, 75 we'll start discussing. That's like you knowing your name. That's such an important article for the Constitution. I'll open up in great detail, forget that. 74 and 75 at center, 163 and 164 in the states. I'll discuss later, don't worry about that. Now let's start this topic. Let's give this heading. I'll give you 2 statements under the heading. have a thought, and then I'll open up what's the meaning. Is it fine? Now you write down this heading, write down value of the vote. Write down value of the vote. Now you write down two statements here. Write down two statements here. Write down in the election of the president. In the election of the president. In the election of the president, as the MPs and MLAs, as the MPs and the MLAs represent underline a different number of represent different number of citizens of the country, thereby the following two statements hold good. The following two statements hold good. Number one, have a thought. Number one, value of the vote of one MP is more, less or equal? More, less or equal? Is more than the value of the vote of one MLA in bracket from any state or UT. One MLA from any state or UT. And second statement, which is a follow-up of number one, the logic you wrote in the intro of this write-up, write down value of the vote of MLAs underline varies from one state to another. Varies from one state to another. Do you agree? Do you agree or not? Okay, it's good that you agree even before I've started. Let me just first explain this very simple term to you. You know it already, but I just want to theorize this term for this topic because it now becomes, this election is now getting a bit complex. Though it's a bit complex, not very complex. I will start with the example of the last class. I had said that there are 100 people in this batch and I want to choose a class representative. And let's say when I when any of you is choosing any of the ABCD4 candidates, you will cast your vote. And when I'll count the votes and I see your vote in favor of any of the candidates ABCD, let's say any of you is choosing A, what I'll do is I'll basically add +1. I'll basically add +1 to the entire vote count of A. I'll add +1 when you choose A because your value of the vote is 1, which is basic, simple. Whenever you and me vote in any election, we carry the value of the vote of 1, which is not even a topic of discussion. It's too simple. All of us are members, not me, all of you are members of this batch. All of you are equal. It's like a direct election. You are simply choosing your representative, and every person in this batch thereby gets a value of the vote of 1. This logic is applicable in all the direct elections that we have in the country. This election now becomes a bit complex because you remember that diagram, that in this election, the citizens don't participate. They have their members of parliament at center, 776 MPs at center. They together took away 50% of the votes for the election of the president. And then from all the 31 states and UTs, we've got almost 4,120. I'll say almost 4,000 MLAs together from all the states and UTs in the country. They together take up 50% of the votes. So the number of people, clearly the same me and same all of us, at one point we've got 776 MPs at center, and at another we've got all of us together 4,120 MLAs from all the states. So automatically it goes without saying that one member of parliament is representing much more number of people in the election of the president. Now, just to further go to the absolute clarity, I'll talk about myself and then you can automatically correlate for you. For any person like me who is staying in Delhi, I am not participating in the election of the president. I have my representation through 7 + 3 MPs that I have. 7 members I get in the Lok Sabha, 3 members I get in the Council of States. That is 10. 10 MPs represent me, people of Delhi, and the same me and the people of Delhi. Let's assume the population of Delhi is X. I don't know what is X. It's simply X. Then in that particular case, the same number of people of X, they are represented by 70 MLAs. So I have 10 MPs at center and 70 MLAs at the same tier for me. For same me, 70 MLAs represent me in the president's election, 10 MPs represent me in the election of the president. So automatically, one member of parliament for me and for the entire country will have a higher vote value. Is that fine?
Yes.
If that is fine, now it becomes complex. It becomes complex because when we are counting the votes, imagine there are 4 candidates ABCD who are the contestants to be the president. When we are counting the votes in favor of ABCD, let's say when any of the MPs, MLAs, they choose A, let's say one member of parliament chooses A, for example, then I'll not add +1. Then I need to know what's his vote value. I need to know the exact mathematical vote value of that one member of parliament, which we'll calculate. If on the other hand, the same person A is chosen by one MLA, for example, when one MP of Delhi is choosing Mrs. Draupadi Murmu, what I add, that is plus something, that's different, that's much more as compared to when the same candidate, Mrs. Murmu, is chosen by one MLA from Delhi. That is what we want to do. Now we want to know exactly what are the mathematical vote values. From those vote values, we'll make a very interesting conclusion for the election of the president. Do you understand my point? Now you write down. The next step, write down in the same discussion, the next step automatically becomes, quickly write down, increase your writing pace now. The next step automatically automatically is to calculate is to calculate the value of the vote value of the vote of the MPs and MLAs. Write down Article 55. Very important. Article 55 provides for the two formulas provides for the two formulas to calculate the vote value of MLAs and MPs. And these formulas ensure write down these formulas ensure number one formulas ensure number one uniformity in representation. Uniformity in representation between और amongst आपस में between और amongst आपस में किसके आपस में very good between और amongst आपस में the MLAs from different states. MLAs from different states and now what? And parity. You can write it as number 2 and number 2 parity. Just the second point, and number 2 parity in representation. And number 2 parity in representation between who? Uniformity amongst all our states, the second tier, and parity between MLAs representing the states. Parity in representation between MLAs representing the states. MLAs representing the state and what? Yes, absolutely right. And MPs representing the tier of union. Now, by simple logical application of mind, without even going into these formulas, which we'll just write in the constitution, how will you ensure uniformity in representation between your state's MLA and my state's MLA mathematically by giving me a simple formula? This is a very simple formula to calculate the value of the vote, and that beautiful formula, that mathematics is representing how the number of people which is different for your and my state's MLA gets encapsulated, gets reflected, gets to be seen beautifully. So the logic of polity that, MLAs, they represent different set of people, we want to depict it in actual vote values, which I'll count when I'll count for the votes. How will you devise that formula? Anyone in class? Simple, very simple. Yes. We can divide the population of any state, divide by number of seats. Will you all agree? Very simple. So you write down, I'll just make a tweak to what he said, which is principally right. That's a mathematical tweak. I'll show you why that tweak has been made to actually come to the full formula. So you write now, you write the same way as I write here. For uniformity or to maintain uniformity, we say the value of the vote, the value of the vote, the value of the vote of one MLA, the value of the vote of one MLA is equal to population of the country, obviously population of the state, divided by, as you pointed out, visible in the end or not if I write it here? If not, then you point out. Population of the state divided by, as you pointed out, you said MLAs. I'll just prefix a simple fact. We know that elected MLAs, they participate. So I'll just write down divided by number of elected MLAs. Now this is a perfect formula, but if I open this formula from the lens of actual mathematics, you would find something very interesting here. I'll just show you. I'll just multiply it to complete the formula by 1 by 1000. Just have a thought why. So I'll tell you, don't worry, just do it. It is 1 by 1000. This is now a complete calculation that we'll do for all of our states to know that what is the value of the vote of one MLA that is actually getting counted in the favor of the candidate that your MLA or that my MLA is choosing in the election of the president. So uniformity between the states. And this is interesting. How will you have parity between center and states? How will you have parity? Tell me. Tell me, I'm asking you. Yes. Yes? Have a thought. You should know, have a thought. Don't get conscious of the people. Sochiye, how will you have parity between center and states? Okay, parity, okay, I'll explain you. What, so this is, did you understand this? Which state do you come from? So if I compare Bihar versus Delhi, Bihar's MLA represents a different number of people as compared to Delhi's MLA. So your value of the vote of your MLA is what? Population of Bihar divided by the number of seats, which is how many for Bihar in the assembly? That is 243. So population of your state we know by the census data that's released by the Ministry of Home. So I'll divide that population by 243 into 1 by 1000 as compared to me. Population of Delhi by 70 into 1 by 1000. So we now have uniformity. Now I'm discussing all the states in comparison to all the MPs at center. How will you have parity between one MLA from any state of the country as compared to one MP representing the tier of center? Ab aaya samajh mein? Now tell me the formula. Yes. Yeah. No. That is where you go wrong. No. Then there is no parity. Parity has to take the vote value of MLAs into account. From that vote value will come to vote value of one MP. समझ में आ रहा है मैं क्या कहना चाह रहा हूँ? Yes. What? Anyone else? Very good. Yes. Absolutely right. Write down. Absolutely right. Write down. This is equal to, have a thought on this. Write down. The total vote value. Total means, what is total? Total is all the 4,120 MLAs from 31 states and UTs, they all represent 50% of the votes. Their combined will show that vote value, it's a huge number. That total vote value of all the states taken together is equal to the total vote value of all the MPs representing the tier of center. 50% votes they lie with the states, 31 states and UTs, with all the MLAs taken together as one unit. The other 50% they lie with the 776 MPs, all representing one unit. Is it clear? So you write down this formula. I'll show you, don't worry. Even if it's not clear, don't worry. Total vote value of MLAs is equal to the total vote value of MPs. Total vote value of the MPs. Right? Do you all have the handout which I gave you in the last class? Please take that handout out. What about the online ones? Do you have the handout with you? It's there at the portal. Is it there with you? Yes or no? If anyone doesn't have, then you say no. If there is no, then I'll show you on the screen. If it is yes, then I'd just tell you to scroll through the handout. It must be there at the portal. You check Chandrasekhar and Ajay Kumar Jaiswal. Check, it's there at the portal. You online, the offline ones, they have it? Do you have it or not? If you don't have it, that's okay. So the ones who have it, you don't look at the screen. You look at the handout. The ones who don't have it, they look at the screen. Don't multitask. You'll get confused. Is it fine? So let me show you some calculations, and then I'll come to a very interesting point. So let's try to see the vote values of one MLA from different states. It's a Chinese screen, so it takes time. Don't worry. I don't think it's working. So, okay, then I'll write on the board. Okay, now see, now what I'm trying to do is I'll basically calculate. Let me try the last time. Okay, now don't worry. There's no need to write what I write on the board. So this is just for your feel. We want to see that vote value in mathematics, and then I want to deduce something for the election. Right? What I'm doing is I'm just calculating vote value from one of the states that is called as Andhra. That's the very first state alphabetically. So if I want to know the value of the vote, there's no need to write, just look at the screen. I want to know the value of the vote of one MLA from the state of Andhra. I'd need to know the population of that state. Can you please tell me from the handout? Yeah, it is 2,78,586,000. That's the population which is known to all of us from something called as census. I'll touch upon the census in detail in my subsequent classes. Just know every 10 years we count the number of people by the exercise called as census. Number of MLAs, how many Andhra has? Yeah, the number of MLAs which is there with Andhra is 175. Now this is what you told me to have uniformity, which is right principally, but population of any state will be in lakhs or crores. So it's basically an 8-digit number. And if I divide by number of seats for any states, the max is 403 for UP, that's in 3 digits. And the lowest is 33, that is for Puducherry, that's again 2 digits. So when I divide a huge number by a very small number, I'd get a 5-digit number. That makes the calculations very much tough. This is just one value of the vote. This is just one MLA's vote value. So we simplify it and we do a mathematical reduction. We are trying to reduce it by multiplying it by 1 by 1000. There's no need to write, just pay attention on the screen. If I just calculate this turns out to be 158.86, whatever be it. Finally, I round it up and this is the number that I was looking for. What is it? What is the number? Yeah, which means, what's the significance of 159 for all of us? Yeah, this means that when in 2022 July, when Mrs. Draupadi Murmu and Mr. Yashwant Sinha, they were the two contestants. In fact, I'll tell you something interesting there also. We just have 2 contestants for the post of the president. We'll discuss that why. So when any of the MLAs voted for Mrs. Murmu or Mr. Sinha, what actually got added in their favor was not +1 because their value of the vote was not +1. What we actually added was what? We actually added was plus 159. Plus 159. That is the vote value of any of the 175 MLAs representing the state of Andhra representing people of Andhra at second tier in the election of the president. Is it fine? Now the ones who don't have the handout, you look at the handout. What I have done is I've basically taken a table. I've shown you the entire vote values in a table in that handout. So I wanted you to scroll through the vote values in that table. The ones who have the handout, can you just have a look at the handout? Yes or no quickly? Yes, just go through the table. Just scroll through the table. You can see we have got the name of all the states. Then I have given you the seats that they have. Then I know the population. The second last column is very interesting. Second last column in the handout, in that table. What is it? Yeah, now just scroll through the second last column. जिनके पास नहीं है वो आराम करें और अगली क्लास में देख के आए. जिनके पास है वो स्क्रॉल करिए पूरा वो वैल्यू ऑफ द वोट ऑफ एमएलएस हर स्टेट का देखिए और फील करिए उसको और अपनी स्टेट का भी देखिए, कंपेयर करिए 159 से जो कि आंध्रा के एमएलए की वोट वैल्यू है. Are you able to see the vote value of all the MLAs? Yes or no? What are the numbers that we are looking for? No. Amongst all the states, what are the two extremes? This is not working, pen drive. Can you just check it once?
I'll check it here.
Yeah. Okay, what are the two extreme values in the table? Any one person raise your hand. Yes. Yes, 7 and 208. Look at the difference. 7 is which state? Sikkim. When any one MLA from Sikkim chose Mrs. Murmu, we added +7. But when any MLA from UP chose Mrs. Murmu, we actually added +208. That is how this election is very different. Now you write this in the class notes. That is what they can ask. You can see your state's vote value also. What's the vote value of MLA from Delhi? Tell me. NCT of Delhi. How? Delhi 58. And what is that for Bihar? Yeah. So do you understand? When your MLA was choosing the candidate, Mrs. Murmu or Mr. Sinha, what got added was 178. But when 173. But when the same candidate was chosen by my representative MLA from Delhi, what we added was whatever be the number, 58. So this is now Again, confusion is, shouldn't they be same? Absolutely wrong. They cannot be same. And you are thinking that way is because you think uniformity means same. Uniformity का मतलब polity में बराबरी नहीं होती, equality नहीं है. Equality कैसे होगी? जब लोग ही आपने रिप्रेजेंट किए वो अलग हैं, तो इक्वालिटी नहीं हो सकती. पॉलिटी में इक्वालिटी नहीं होती, पॉलिटी में यूनिफॉर्मिटी या सिमिलैरिटी होती है. Have a thought. I'll open up this statement. So what you have is uniformity that does not imply, has got no correlation, cannot be construed to be as equality. Uniformity means the people you represent, that should be in your vote values reflected upon. As simple as that. Is it clear? So you write down in the class notes. एक handout यहाँ try करें पर. Write down amongst the states. रिपोर्ट खराब है, मुझे उसको बुलाना है, ये वाला खराब है. Amongst the states, the maximum vote value is of MLA from UP. Is of MLA from UP. This has to be by hearted. Though the probability is very less, they'll ask you exact numbers. I'll tell you this also, but you have to by heart it. Write down that is 208. That is 208, and lowest is of MLA from Sikkim. MLA from Sikkim, that is 7. Right. Now, all of you, the ones who have the handout, you come to the last column. Last column. We are yet to open up. Look at the last column. Those who don't have the handout, don't worry. You go back and have a look. It's very simple. Look at the last column. Anyone, what's the heading of the last column? Total value of vote for the state. So what we have done is, you know the value of the vote of each MLA from your state. I multiplied by the number of MLAs that your state has. So I got to see the total vote value of your state. For example, just to discuss here, if I discuss Andhra, one MLA from Andhra has got a value of the vote of 159. Total vote value of Andhra as one state will be what? Yeah, it is 159. That's the value of the vote of one MLA into 175. That is the number of MLAs that Andhra has. This entire calculation has been done by Election Commission for all of our states. The last column. Have a look at that. Have a look at the last column and then tell me what is the number that we are looking for. What is that? Yes. If in the last column, once I have calculated the total vote value of each state, and I add all the 31 states and UTs that together represent one unit, that together represent the entire tier of states, that together represents all the 4,120 MLAs and their vote values, that mathematical number turns out to be, what? The last column. Yeah. Now this is what I'll use here. Don't write. Just look at the screen. Don't write. It's there in the handout. Total vote value of all the MLAs, you told me from the last column, Election Commission's table, is 549,495. This will be, pay attention on the screen, all of you. This will be equal to the value of the vote of one member of parliament, which I don't know. I am calculating, I am having parity. From the MLAs I am reaching to the MPs. There is parity beautifully reflected in this formula, between the states and center, I don't know this value of the vote of one MP. I assume it is X. The number of MPs that participate in the election goes without saying. Elected ones, you all know that very well. We'll see the details of elected, nominated much later. Don't get stuck there. Just by heart that if I calculate X, you will see a phenomenally high number. X turns out to be 708. You just write and keep on thinking. Then I'll ask you a question. Theoretical part ends. Now we come to the practice. Write down this statement and have a thought. Think about these numbers and tell me something very interesting. Write down. Applying parity. Applying parity. Applying parity. Applying parity. The value of the vote of one MP. The value of the vote of one MP. In bracket, write down Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha. Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha. Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha is 708. 708. एक MP जब वोट करता है मिसेस मुर्मू के लिए या मिस्टर सिन्हा के लिए, हम +1 ऐड नहीं करते, हम ऐड करते हैं उस इलेक्टर की वोट वैल्यू जो कि कितनी है 708. In bracket, something very interesting. That's the catch. I'll open up at the end of the class today. See what you write and then think about it, though you'd not be able to think. In bracket, write down, underline the statement. This is very interesting, and there's a discrepancy in this table nobody pointed out. Or if there's anything you want to point out in this table, the ones who saw it. No discrepancy in the table? Yes. We'll take the questions later, not right now. What's the discrepancy in the table? No. I'll tell you that. That's the next topic. What else?
Sir,
yes.
Like the first one, it is like 27825, but instead of that, it will be 27800.
How?
Like
No. Forget that. No. Okay, I'll tell you later. Let's not waste the time here. In bracket, write down if all the 31 states and UTs participate. If all the 31 states and UTs participate. That's the hint to reach to that discrepancy. That's okay, I'll tell you. Don't worry about that. 1971, I'll tell you. Rounding errors is logical. That's not the discrepancy. If all... That's not even a question. That's not even a question. Only elected ones participate. I'll take the doubts later, not right now. Write down if all the 31 states and UTs participate. Now, what's the gist of this election? What's the last statement? You've seen everything. I just need to show you single transferable vote as a principle. What's the concluding remark for the election of the president if I ask you that from this entire numbers that you played with, principally I could have made the conclusion yesterday in the last class, but now you've got a feel of these numbers. What's the final conclusion that you have to tell a layman who is witnessing election of the president? You saw in the constitution, you saw the details. What will you tell that person? No, but he would not understand. I took an hour to make you understand, and you all are graduates. Okay, that's a good thought. I appreciate that. No. Conclusion. Not disagreed. What's the point? Yes. No. That's okay. Good guess. No. What's the final say? The end statement for this election? Yes. That's a good thought, but that layman doesn't understand federalism like you don't understand. No. बिल्कुल फिर से बोलिए जोर से कौन कहां पे पावर में, केंद्र में या राज्य में? केंद्र में या राज्य में? केंद्र में। जिसकी केंद्र में सत्ता होगी वही चुनेगा राष्ट्रपति कौन होगा. द वन हु हैज गॉट द गवर्नमेंट एट सेंटर, that political party till now, from the first election 52 till the last 22, so many presidents got elected. I would simply say this election is nothing but a formality. There is nothing to be discussed. There is nothing to be discussed. It is important for the exam as a student. This is just an election to organize it. The reason is, if I wanted to be, now pay attention, I am coming to the numbers now and then I'll conclude something. If I wanted to be the president of India, I'll perceive two group of electors. I'll have two things in my head. 50% votes, they are with the center, which are 776 MPs, out of which 543 are in the Lok Sabha. And then I can also focus on 4,120 MLAs who come from 31 states and UTs. So it's foolish for me to campaign on these 4,120 MLAs. I will not look at them. I will just look at the Lok Sabha. Because the Prime Minister, or in any country, I'll tell you now, having a parliamentary form, you will see elections. A very simple fact, you will get the feel of it from the constitution later. The Prime Minister in the country will always come from the party which has got majority in the Lok Sabha. Which means whichever political party is ruling at center, जिस भी राजनीतिक दल का केंद्र में जिसकी सत्ता है, जिसका राज है, उसकी कम से कम एटलीस्ट 543 by 2, 272, 273, 273 seats will definitely be there. Will you agree? So, Prime Minister is from BJP. He would have at least got 273 seats. In fact, the coalition has got 340 seats. It has got 340 seats in Lok Sabha. You add the seats, I forgot. There is something called as Council of States. Out of 233, they've got another 80, which is not a good number. Usually that party forms the government at center, the PM who has got majority in the Lok Sabha only, his party would have a good chunk of seats in the Rajya Sabha also. You add another 80 that BJP NDA has. So from 340 seats that BJP has just in one house, you add another 80, that is 420 out of 50% of the votes which are remaining, which are there with 776, 420 are hands down with just political party, one political party at center. So if 776 is 42%, 30% votes are with just one political party. And I told you in the last class, what? I told you in the last class, in the Lok Sabha, in the Rajya Sabha, you might think of 340 MPs in numbers. In reality, they all are one for me. Because they vote in the elections, they vote for any damn matter based on their diktats of political party. So there is no individuality that we have in the house. Every political party's legislator is bound. Take it as a crude fact. You need to remember it. Every political party's legislator that you know sitting in the center or states, any of the houses, that person is bound by the party diktat. So all of these 420, they had chosen Mrs. Draupadi Murmu. They took 35% of the votes. And in so many states, BJP has got majority. If I tell you the exact numbers, Mrs. Draupadi Murmu had got 70% of the votes. You are saying 50% plus one. She had taken 70%. The day her name was announced, election was over. The day the ruling party, the day Prime Minister says, he is my candidate, the game is up. All the elections, except one. That's a very interesting election. We'll discuss that later. राष्ट्रपति का चुनाव नाम मात्र का चुनाव है. जिस दिन प्रधानमंत्री ने बोला कि हमारी पार्टी का उम्मीदवार अ ब स है, उसी दिन वो चुनाव जीत चुका है, वो कैंपेनिंग भी नहीं करते। मिसेस द्रौपदी मुर्मू दिल्ली आई, नामांकन भरा, सारी कैंपेनिंग करने की आवश्यकता है ही नहीं। कैंपेनिंग क्या करनी है? बीजेपी ने बोला वोट करना है, कांग्रेस ने बोला। एक और सवाल उठता है यहां पे, which is strange. So you all are studying election. This is your second class. You got to know that election is a formality. You all are layman in the subject. Mr. Yashwant Sinha, who was the candidate from Congress, was he a fool? क्या वो बेवकूफ थे? Who in the world is contesting an election when he has already lost it? Mrs. मीरा कुमार 2017 उन्होंने चुनाव लड़ा रामनाथ कोविंद के विपरीत। क्यों लड़ा? वो तो हार चुकी थी चुनाव पहले ही, या नहीं हारी थी? हार चुकी थी। सत्ता बीजेपी की थी 2017 में। मिस्टर रामनाथ कोविंद का नाम बीजेपी ने, प्रधानमंत्री ने आगे किया। 2012 में मिस्टर मुखर्जी का नाम कांग्रेस यूपीए ने आगे किया। तो फिर चुनाव होता ही क्यों है? चुनाव तो करना पड़ेगा, संवैधानिक दृष्टि से महत्वपूर्ण है। इट्स अ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल कंडीशन, इट हैज टू बी फॉलोड। बट व्हाई वुड समवन, विल यू कॉन्टेस्ट इन इलेक्शन which you've already lost? Mr. Sinha would have known polity obviously more than us. He was a member of parliament. He remained a finance minister also. क्यों लड़ते हैं फिर? आप बताइए, सोचिए। नहीं, that is too much to ask for. Now, because you said that's a logical point. Secret ballot doesn't mean that the Congress, the BJP legislators, they'll vote in favor of Congress. The vice versa happened. The Congress MPs, MLAs, they voted in favor of Mrs. Murmu. BJP did not expect, not Congress, many of the parties. I'll tell you why it happened, but that's a good thought. पर ऐसा भी नहीं हो सकता कि इतनी क्रॉस वोटिंग हुई कि मिस्टर सिन्हा इतने ज्यादा होपफुल थे। नहीं, इट्स लाइक सेइंग कि कुछ पढ़ा नहीं पूरे साल में आईएएस बन जाऊं। नहीं हो सकता, कभी नहीं होगा। वही लॉजिक है। नहीं, कॉन्फिडेंस तो है ही भाई, कॉन्फिडेंस नंबर्स पे है, सत्ता है तो कॉन्फिडेंस है। I'll take that is connected with the point that you said, but no. Yes. So इलेक्शन हो पर यूनानिमसली हो ना। ऑपोजिशन क्यों अपना कैंडिडेट लाता है? देखिए, ये सिर्फ एक चुनाव है, आपने फॉलो नहीं किया बिकॉज आप पढ़ नहीं रहे थे लास्ट ईयर, दैट्स ओके। मिस्टर यशवंत सिन्हा ने ये थोड़ी ना कहा था कि मेरे को प्रेसिडेंट बनाओ। उनको पता था, कभी उनको पता था कांग्रेस वाले वोट नहीं करेंगे उनके लिए। ही सेड दैट यू शुड वोट। ही रिक्वेस्टेड द एमपीज, एमएलएज, all seasoned legislators, not laymen like you and me, not citizens. He requested all the legislators, you vote for the idea, the values that Congress represents. He knew he had lost the election. This is the only election that is left. And that is a good point. The highest post, because of the way we have framed the election, the way we framed the electors, this is the only election that is fought on the ideals, values of BJP as compared to values of Congress. The opposition gets its acts together. विपक्ष के सारे दल, सारे राजनीतिक पार्टियां एकजुट होते हैं पूरे भारत के लोगों को दिखाने के लिए। ये मत सोचिए हमने हार मान ली। ये लड़ाई जारी रहेगी, क्योंकि लड़ाई सत्ता की नहीं है, लड़ाई है आइडियाज की, वैल्यूज की। इसीलिए कांग्रेस ने अपना कैंडिडेट रखा, और रखना चाहिए था। He put up a strong fight. He wanted to make the record of losing the elections by getting the maximum possible votes. Even that was not possible. The record to lose the elections, the president's election, as a loser with the maximum possible votes is with Mrs. Meera Kumar. In 17 she lost, but she got the maximum possible votes ever taken by a loser in all the elections that we've had. Is it fine? Do you understand this point? So he said, vote for the idea of Congress. Vote for the values, secularism, justice, welfare that Congress as a party represents. But still Congress MPs, MLAs, they cross-voted. So you write down this point. Write down. Yes.
If there is a mere majority of the party at Lok Sabha.
That doesn't happen. Have a thought, because you've just started. That doesn't happen. The party having majority in a state, in a couple of states, might not have majority at center. But a party that is enjoying the mandate of the entire country, at least in number of seats in Lok Sabha, at least 273, it is 1000% understood, not mathematically, but practically in polity, that would definitely have a majority, if not majority out of 31, I'd say, even if they take 10 states, a bigger one, because only then you become the PM. Like you say, the ones who take UP and Bihar, they take the PM, they would have taken the assemblies also. Even if they don't have the assembly, they'd at least have a good chunk of MLAs in the opposition. So when they vote, it adds on to the tally of easily more than 50%. That's my point, which will take time to sink in, but that's okay.
The candidate that it is also to give the majority party at center, keep it in check.
I will. How do we keep majority party in check? It is unchecked. It's got the candidate winning. How is there a check?
Because the state elections don't coincide with the center election.
So what? The political parties, center who form the government will be strong in the states also. It is campaigning in the states also. That is my point. The party which is strong at center would definitely have a wonderful stake in the states also. Have a think on any party at center which doesn't have stakes in states. Any party you think till now. Vice versa might happen. Party in your state, Aam Aadmi Party, more than 60 out of 70, no stakes in center. Or let's say Samajwadis, or let's say Trinamuls, no stakes at center. Or let's say BJDs, YSR Congress Party, no stakes at center. But the party at center, BJP, has got stakes in almost every state. If not in power, then in opposition. You'll get these points, don't worry, it'll come to you slowly and slowly. Write down, therefore, from the vote values, quickly write down. Therefore, from the vote values, it can be determined. From the vote values, it can be determined and concluded. Quickly, and concluded that the political party having majority at center, has its candidate get elected. Has its candidate get elected as the president. Right. Next point, write down. Next question, write down. Conclude the election. Conclude this topic. We are done with elections. Now we have to just understand STV, single transferable vote, which I'll just start as a topic. First, you write down, because some of you pointed 1971 census. Now I'll give you the answer to that question. Write down this question. Conclude means put a line. We are done with this topic. Now we are moving to a next question in the topic. Write down like this, that. Give this question. Write this question. Why? Write down. Why 1971 census? Why 1971 population census has been used? Has been used to calculate vote values. I'll give you the write-up first. Have a thought. If anyone disagrees, then I'll open up. This is a very common point. I'll discuss, but you try to have a thought from the write-up. Write down. The 1971 census has been used. The 1971 census is used to calculate the vote values to encourage to encourage the states to adopt underline this phrase. This is a very common phrase. All of you must have encountered sometime in your life. Population control measures. Have you heard, all of you? Population control measures. Population control measures as the southern states had adopted. As the southern states had adopted during the decade of 1970s. It's a very important decade for all of us. 1970s, and continued their efforts. अभी भी जारी हैं. And continued their efforts thereafter. This is logical. We'll just open up. Second point is a hyper heavy amendment. You have to by heart. I told you all the amendments with the prime ministers who got the amendment, all the schedules, all the parts you paste in the class notes should be on your tips. Is a fine? Start by hearting. It's a very important part of the subject. I told you in the first class. Now you write down, very important amendment, very important. We'll use it again. It's in current affairs. It will be in the news in the time 2026 comes. For the next 2 years, a very important amendment. Write down. As per 84th CAA 2001. Who was the PM? Yeah. Who was the PM, all of you? Atal Bihari Vajpayee. As per 84th CAA 2001 till 2026. Till 2026, the vote values shall be calculated. The vote values shall be calculated on the basis of 1971 census. In bracket, write down which is something more important than this. That more important fact is the lens to look at this fact. What you write in bracket is the lens, is the thought to perceive this question. Why 1971 census is used. Write in bracket, see if you understand. Even the seats a state has, very important. In bracket, even the seats a state has, your and my state has, where? At the Lok Sabha, and where? I'm asking you and me, people. At the Lok Sabha and no, Legislative Assembly. Rajya Sabha doesn't represent us. It's not the people's house. The name is giving you the hint. Rajya Sabha. Even what's the sentence? The seats a state has and Legislative Assembly is determined. Even the seats a state has in the Lok Sabha or in the Legislative Assembly is determined on the basis of 1971 census and is fixed. 1971 census and is fixed. Till the year, very important, there'd be a huge bomb blast in center-state relations in this year. This is a major point, very heavy. I'll tell you why. Is fixed till the year 2026. 2026. Is it fine? Now, a quick discussion, though you'd be taught this topic by the person who takes human geography. And but I just want to start the topic. This topic is very interesting from the lens of polity also. What do you think about this term? Do you know this? What is census? Yeah. In a simple term, a simple definition, I want to count the students in the class today. I'll count your heads. Every person in the class, I'll count your heads. So the population of this class today is, in a fancy term, referred as a head count. So the census is nothing but a head count. Head count of what? You got to know the people staying in the country. Such a wonderful collection of data is done. We know about the people, we know about sex ratio, we know about child sex ratio, we know about workforce participation rate, we know about density of your state, my state. These are all basic tools to plan for the policies of development of the country. If I don't know the people, if I want to distribute the handout, I have to know first how many people in the class. As simple as that. And that's the point. We conduct the census to know the change in population. I hope all of you agree with that. Population changes every moment. We record it every 10 years. That data that we get, changes in population, they help us in devising better policies for the welfare of the country. Right. So logically, I would have taken the latest census, which should have happened in 21. The second wave of COVID happened. We postponed that census of 21. The elections are happening in April, May this year. Almost 3 lakh people, almost 3 million, not 3 lakh, 30 lakh people will be involved. 30 lakh government officials in the country, they'd be involved in organizing the elections in a free and fair manner. Elections happen in April, May, the new government will come up. This staff that we have, this will become free, and thereby we'll start the process of 2021 census, unfortunately in 24. So the last census which I have, the data is available is 2011. So that's a thought, simple thought. New data and reflection everywhere. New data was 11, I should have taken it here. But then comes my country's problem. It's specific to me. It's specific to India. Everywhere in the world, I would have calculated the stakes of any state in democracy in their people's house based on the latest census, because I had to see the change in the seats and the vote values if there was the same process in that country. In India, there's a major problem that the population growth trends of the country, they were same for the first 2 decades, entire 50s, entire 60s. The north and the south, they grew together. Together means they had similar population growth rate. In 1970s, the southern states, they took a terrible lead ahead. They followed what the government at center had told us back as in 1952. We very well understood the moment we got independent that population is a curse. We have to utilize it by reducing the numbers. The southern states that took the lead in 1970s, they've continued their efforts thereafter, as you wrote. The northern states, they've reduced their population growth rate, but that is minuscule. That is no comparison with the southern states. Thereby, the gap in population, the gap in population, north versus south, should get reflected in the stakes of any state in the polity by determining the value of the vote of the president, by deciding the seats your and my state has, based on population in the Lok Sabha and even determining the seats that your legislative assembly has. But because India as a country cannot afford to have a burst in population growth rate, we are not Japan, we are not Scandinavian countries, we are not Sweden, we are not Finland, we are not US. So we are keeping still 1971 census, because that was the last census when the North and the South, they had grown together. 70 के दशक के बाद ही एक जबरदस्त डेमोग्राफिक वाटरशेड इमर्ज हुआ, और सब कुछ भारत में जहां भी पीपल हैं, पॉलिटी में जहां भी पीपल यूज होगा, wherever there is a difference in people or population, everywhere you'll use 1971. And that is fixed by a constitution, by the amendment that you wrote. That will not be changed till 2026. 2026 तक ये सब सीट लोकसभा की, विधानसभा की और राष्ट्रपति के चुनाव में वोट वैल्यू किसी भी सांसद या विधायक की वो 1971 के हिसाब से ही चलेगी. इसलिए मैंने आपसे कहा, तो एक बड़ी हैरानी की बात है. क्या हैरानी की बात है? क्या समझ में आया आपको? What's the fact? सोचिए इस पे, कितनी सीट्स हैं लोकसभा में? 543 as per 1971 census. What was the population of country in 1971? Yes करिए. अभी 140, 41, 42 जैसे जैसे मैं बोल रहा हूं बढ़ती जा रही होगी. बहुत हाई पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ रेट है. But right now we've got almost, by the NFHS round 5 that we had, we predict it should be around 140, 150. 150 करोड़ मानते हैं भारत की जनसंख्या. कितनी होगी 1971 में? 80 करोड़. आज प्रेजेंट कितनी जनसंख्या है? 150 मानते हैं, 160 मानते हैं मैथमेटिक्स के लिए हिसाब से. देखा आपने डिस्क्रिपेंसी? क्या डिस्क्रिपेंसी है? सीटें उतनी ही है और seats are 543. Your states and my state seat is based on 543. 543. But the problem is that what to do? What to do? If I take 2011, then the northern states who haven't worked hard and the southern states who worked hard, they will take the pie. They will not eat the pie. They'll gobble the pie and eat the hands of the cook also. That is the fact that they have. And that is why in India, what a fact. In India, any of these 543 MPs, I'll tell you a fact, you'll be startled to find out. Any of these 543 MPs represents how many people? Make a guess. नहीं, 8 लाख तो बहुत अच्छी बात है. Each MP in Lok Sabha represents how many people? 20 लाख. क्या सोच सकते हैं आप? 20 लाख व्यक्तियों का एक प्रतिनिधि, one representative in Lok Sabha is 20 lakh. Pakistan, a country like Pakistan, how many? 4 lakh. Bangladesh, 5 lakh. Australia, 5 lakh. US, 6 lakh. India, 20 lakh. That is why we built the new Lok Sabha. It's a huge Lok Sabha. We have to increase the seats beyond 26. But there's a catch. Which census to use? If you use 21, then UP and Bihar, who anyways took the Prime Minister, they'll take the PMs of the neighboring countries also. I tell you, listen to me, have a thought. This is a very important point. It's a rare area. You have to give a thought. I'll tell you one simple fact. You'll be startled to find out. In the states beyond the Vindhyan mountain range, south of Vindhyan mountain range, that's basically Deccan and South India, though South is much south, but commonly let's call it South India. Not even a single state BJP has got majority, not even one. Though I'm discussing assemblies, but that tells you about the stakes a political party has. It's got 300 seats on its own. It still is hands down the Prime Minister. They'll make it even further ahead. So that is why which census to be used is sending down, shivers down the spine of southern states. That is why you are finding the Kerala and the center. That's a start. They are just boiling the water. It will blast off in 26. And you need to find out now. It's a thought for you. क्या करें? सीटें बढ़ाएं? किसके बेसिस पे? 2021 तो नॉर्थ साउथ का डिबेट बहुत बढ़ जाएगा। वैसे ही डिबेट ये 4 साल से चल रहा है, एक्चुअली बहुत जरूरी है आपके लिए। ये सेंटर स्टेट फैब्रिक को डिस्टॉर्ट करेगा ये। इट्स लाइक रिपल्स इन द फैब्रिक ऑफ सेंटर स्टेट। एंड इफ यू डोंट यूज 2021, यू से आई एक्सटेंडेड फॉर 1971, तो 200 करोड़ लोग भारत में होंगे और सीटें आपने डिसाइड करी हैं 80 करोड़ के हिसाब से। वो तो इंटरनेशनल रिप्रेजेंटेशन के प्रिंसिपल से ही अलग है। इसलिए ये सेंसस भारत के लिए सिरदर्दी है। पॉलिटी और पॉलिटी का इंटरेक्शन सेंसस में बहुत जरूरी है। पॉलिटी मतलब पीपल, पीपल मतलब रिप्रेजेंटेशन, मतलब कितने लोग कहां हैं। वो लोगों में इतना डिफरेंस है जो हमें करेक्ट करना है। इसका सॉल्यूशन न्यूज़पेपर्स में आएगा। यू हैव टू रीड इन द न्यूज़पेपर्स। इट विल बी अ रेयर फिनोमेना। I'll discuss the doubts later. Do you understand my points, all of you? I've just induced the thought. It's a bit early for you because on this dimension you would be finding beautiful articles coming up in the Hindu. When I'll take my lecture number 9, then I would want you to tell me how to solve the problem, because I know nothing. I have got the government, the experts, they know nothing. So you have to find out a solution as an administrator, that we have to increase the seats. I cannot have 30 lakh people having 30 lakh people representing one MP in Lok Sabha, but then you find a way out. That's interesting. So we look at the countries of the world and see what they have done. There are good examples. You go back and find out in the next 2 years. Is it fine?
Yes.
Is it fine, all of you? Census in polity is also a very interesting example of something, but it's too early for you right now. I'll discuss that example later when center-state relations will be taught to you. There you will study the example of the census's ramification, how it plays out in politics of our country. Right? Now let's go to the next topic. Is it clear, all of you?
Yes.
Right. Now you have to open this fact. The logic of this fact applies on the election of the president. That same point. But this is more important. Write down the next point. Let's go to a new heading. We are yet to discuss the single transferable vote concept. So you give this heading. Give this heading. Write down counting of, counting of the votes. Counting of the votes in bracket. Why are we discussing counting? Because we have to see the application of, write down, STV, that is single transferable vote. Now I'll explain you STV. Simple but interesting. If you know this, then you know the election of the vice president, you know elections of the Rajya Sabha, you know elections to legislative council. The same counting is applicable there. In bracket, just write it down also. Write down the same procedure of counting, is also applicable. Quickly, is also applicable for the elections. Very important fact for prelims, very important. For the elections to number 1, vice president. Second is Rajya Sabha, right? Rajya Sabha. Third is legislative council. Legislative council, as all the above are elected, by PR plus STV. As all the above are elected by, I hope you remember PR plus STV, PR plus STV. Close the bracket. Then you come to this topic and you write down. Now you write down the source. Write down this very interesting term in polity. That's the second question in polity. Source. The source is presidential and vice presidential election rules 1974. Presidential and vice presidential election rules 1974. Before I tell you this topic, I would like to now give you a broad thought. In the last class, when I started my lecture, I said that, now pay attention, all of you, get back to the class. In the last class, when I had started my discussion on polity, I told you the first thing that you want to know is any topic, any post, any position, any power that you find in the newspaper, you need to find out what is the part. 24 parts, all 24 need to be by hearted for the exam. That's a broad address. Within the part, what is the exact article? That was the first question. But I'll tell you now, Constitution is a book of limited pages. Usually the countries of the world, they write the most important offices and the most important bare essential details of the administration of a country in the Constitution. India still is the largest one. We wrote almost every possible detail in the Constitution. So everything cannot be found in the Constitution. That is why you'd find clauses like the one that you'll find today. The Constitution outsources the responsibilities to the Parliament, that let Parliament fill in the gaps. Let Parliament fill in the gaps, and thereby, I'll tell you what a gap means here. Just try to understand. Fill in the gaps by providing some more details in the law. संविधान अनुच्छेद में ये बोलता है कि संसद जिस मुद्दे पे मैंने नहीं लिखा, हम उसको अनुमति देते हैं कि आप एक अधिनियम लाओ, एक लॉ लाओ और डिटेल्स बनाओ. Everything cannot be there in the laws also. So when we make a law, we do what? We tell the government, we tell the executive to make rules. Jaise, for example, you all know that the Parliament basically has brought in the 3 major laws that overhaul the framework of policing in the country. The Indian Penal Code, just know the name. The Indian Evidence Act 1872 and the Criminal Procedure Code, it has been overhauled. That law has got passed. Have I implemented it till now? No. Law is passed because the rules, the innate, immaculate details of that law, they have not been framed by Ministry of Home. So the absolute details of anything in administration is known to you by rules. So these 3 are written sources. ये लिखित में है. इसका उल्लंघन usually नहीं होता. अगर इस 3 के अंदर कोई ग्रे एरिया है, if there is any loophole, जैसे I think right to privacy is my fundamental right. I had gone to the court. I said Article 21 is right to life. That is what you write. But I think 21 should include right to privacy. Supreme Court gave an observation, said yes. So the loopholes and the gaps here, they are filled by the Supreme Court judgments. These fillers, court judgments, they are like fillers. And then there is something that is still left. that there is something that is still left in polity which is unwritten. जैसे मैं कक्षा में आऊंगा, मैं बोलूंगा गुड मॉर्निंग, तो मुझे वाजीराम ने ये नहीं कहा कि आपको क्लास में घुसते ही मैं नहीं बोलूंगा गुड मॉर्निंग, तो आप बोलोगे यार क्या ट्रेंड खराब हो गया, विश भी नहीं करता टीचर। तो क्या नुकसान हो रहा है किसी का मेरे गुड मॉर्निंग बोलने या ना बोलने से? क्या फर्क पड़ता है? कुछ भी नहीं। ये क्या है, ऐसे ही किसी भी कंट्री में वी हैव कन्वेंशंस, and these conventions are these traditions. Your family has got innate traditions, like your parents would tell you don't eat non-veg in Navaratras. If you eat, what happens? You won't fail in the exam. दबा के खाइए, उसका एग्जाम से कोई रिलेशन नहीं है. Don't have that fear. But if you eat, then your parents, they tell you you've taken down the drain the traditions of your family. That is the same lens to analyze the performance of any government. In exam, in mains, in prelims, in interview, the analysis of India's analysis of the working of the government is adjudged, is possibly found out by not looking at the constitution that cannot be disobeyed, not the laws, not the rules, but to look at the conventions, the traditions that the government has followed over the decades. And one of them is a very important one. It has been disobeyed for the past 10 years now. Just know it. It came up in the prelims. A question will come in the prelims from the constitution, from the laws, generally not from the rules because they are too detailed, from the court judgments, and these are lenses. These are keystone species of our polity. Their effect is very important to judge the performance. There was a convention that in the Lok Sabha, the post of deputy speaker used to go to the opposition party. For the past 10 years, that post has not been given. In fact, for the second term of the present government, it's almost the end of the term. At the end of 5 years we are now living in, but the post has been kept vacant. So when I ask you, what do you think about the analysis in the mains? The trend of parliamentary form of government has reduced. Full stop. Do you agree? Should we move to a presidential form of government? That's a question. Question like these come in the exam, in the mains. I'm just giving you a thought. Then in that case, when you comment on the working of the house, these conventions, they are like indicator species. You judge the performance of any administration from the working or lack of it of these unwritten traditions, and that's the beauty. The British, they take pride. They don't write. You write like I would write. Don't reserve seats for your friends. But if you are smart enough, you don't care. You know that the rules have to be followed. Why would I write? And we knew that we might have a propensity to disobey, so we wrote everything. The English, they don't write anything. Their entire administration is by conventions and they follow that. That is the reason they take pride in the fact that, we are the best so-called democracy. उल्लंघन नहीं करते वो। आ रहा है समझ में? तो ये कन्वेंशंस एग्जाम में पूछे जाते हैं सबसे ज्यादा। कन्वेंशन देगा और बोल देगा एज पर द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन। समझ में आ रहा है? ये लेटेस्ट स्ट्रैंड ऑफ क्वेश्चंस है। एज पर द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन द डेप्यूटी स्पीकर्स पोस्ट गोज टू द ऑपोजिशन। दैट्स रॉन्ग। इट्स अ कन्वेंशन, बट द फैक्ट इज राइट, द स्टेटमेंट इज राइट, इट्स बीन प्रीफिक्स्ड बाय the source which is given to you wrong. That is the only place where Mr. Lakshmikant's terrific book goes wrong. He doesn't write, he gives you the facts beautifully. In the end, he writes the articles and he doesn't write the notes like the way we write. We are trying to write that, obviously. That book is a wonderful book, not to go against that. But I'm just telling you, that book doesn't talk about the sources. For you now, in polity, first thing is, what's the source? If it's the constitution, article and the part. If not the article, then you got to know where is it given, which law, which rules, or if it's a convention or it's by the court judgment. For example, one statement, right to privacy is a fundamental right, true or false? Right to privacy is a fundamental right, true or false? True. As per the constitution, right to privacy is a fundamental right. False. That is how they'll ask you, as simple as that. You got me very well. Is it clear? Should I move on ahead? Is it clear that side, all of you? We are studying polity, by the way. Is it coming easy, all of you? Right. Then let's write down. Be attentive, all of you. Write down. Now you write down. Let's go into the details of these rules. You write down. write down the following is applicable. The following is applicable. The following is applicable under the rules. Number one, the electors cast their vote using ballot papers. Using ballot papers. Second point, the electors indicate their preferences. For the contesting candidates. Where as per the rules, the electors should do what? The electors should mark their preference. The electors should mark their preference for at least a candidate, and the maximum possible preferences shall be what? Very good. Shall be equal to what? Shall be equal to the number of candidates. Right? Shall be equal to the number of candidates. The fourth is interesting one. Have a thought on the fourth. First three are easy. I'll just open up them, don't worry. Fourth, write down. Yeah, sorry, third. Third, write down. The election proceeds. This is very important. See what you're writing. Very interesting. The election proceeds. The election proceeds to the subsequent rounds of counting. Underline subsequent. Subsequent, you understand? Later rounds. From 1 to second, second to third, third to fourth. Subsequent rounds of counting till a candidate remember this term? Yes, last class. Gets quota. I hope all of you remember this term. Yes. Gets quota. And if no candidate gets the quota, no candidate gets the quota, then what happens? Then the candidate left in the end. I'll just explain you, don't worry. Then the candidate left in the end is declared as the winner. Candidate left in the end is declared as the winner. Right, I'll just explain these rules. You just also write down the following assumptions have been made to understand the process. Quickly, the following assumptions have been made to understand the process. All of you, be attentive. The following assumptions have been made to understand the process. I am making these assumptions to explain this counting process and thereby explain single transferable vote. But this is not the truth. We are making these assumptions to make the process easy. Write down number one, write down the number of candidates. The number of candidates is equal to what? Is equal to 100. The number of candidates is equal to 100. Number two, sorry, number of candidates you wrote. Number of electors, I'm so sorry. Please strike off candidates, write down. Number of electors. Number of MPs, MLAs are assumed to be 100, which in reality is 4,120 MLAs plus 776 MPs. But we are assuming 100. Second, the number of candidates is equal to 4. Is equal to 4. Number 3, this is most important, underline. Most important. The value of the vote of each elector is the same and equal to it's the same. I am assuming to be the same. In reality, it's not the same. Is equal to 1. Is equal to 1. Each of these 100, I'm assuming, has got the vote value of 1. And then thereby calculate the quota. Then I'll show you the method here. Calculate the quota. All of you, tell me the quota for this election. What is the quota for this election? 21. How many of you 21? Raise your hands. Anyone? Why 21? The formula for quota that we wrote was equal to the total number of votes from the valid ballot papers in the last class. You've not revised, that means. Then if you don't revise, I'm not telling to you, if you don't revise, फिर कुछ समझ में नहीं आएगा. अभी आप ये मत पूछिए क्या पढ़ें वो पढ़ें, जितना क्लास में पढ़ा रहे हैं धीरे धीरे बिल्ड होगा. अभी बेयर मिनिमम कर लीजिए, नहीं तो आगे समझ में नहीं आएगा. Now that's your problem. I will not repeat it. I'm doing it assuming that you had revised. The total number of valid votes in the numerator, I'll show you what are invalid now. Divide by not the number of candidates. Number of candidates, I don't care. I want to choose one class representative. The entire class is a candidate. 100 electors, 100 candidates, I don't care. The quota is dependent on what? The quota is dependent on what? In the denominator, number of seats. We elect how many presidents in the country? 4. 1. 1 plus 1. Pay attention here. When you write in the numerator total number of valid votes, it is 100, not because 100 is the number of electors. It is 100 because 100 is the number of electors and each one of them has got a vote value of 1. So in this formula for quota, in the numerator, when you write total number of valid votes, we do not write the number of electors. We incorporate the vote value of each and every elector, and that is how we add the total vote value for that election. आया समझ में? अब देखिए, अब से बोर्ड पे देखिए, this election is slightly different. Whenever you participate in proportional representation elections, in all of them, at the start you wrote 4 elections. What we tell all the electors is that when you get the ballot paper, I cannot use the EVM. EVM you would all use in April, May. When you vote using EVM, that's called as electronic voting machine, you can choose just one person. When you vote in direct elections, you will just choose one person. If I want you to choose your class representative, you will just choose one person. But when you have proportional representation and single transferable vote, then in that case, this is how the ballot paper looks like. You saw A, B, C, D, 4 candidates contesting the election. If I am one of the electors for the election, I'd give preferences. Let's say I give first preference to D. I give, let's say, second preference to D. I give third preference to C. I give fourth preference to A. This is how every elected MP or MLA is casting his vote. He is giving preferences. And then you also wrote, let's say one of the MPs and MLAs, they are not giving their votes to they are not giving preferences to all the 4. They just give first preference to C and they don't give any preference to D, B and A. Or for example, if any of the electors is giving, let's say, in this case, first preference to D and second preference to A, and the remaining 2 have not been preferred by them, all of these ballot papers, they are 1000% valid. It's just that we write in the rules to give to all the 4. The first one should be the best example. If they haven't given preference to all the 4, then we don't care. We'll count those votes, but we'll get stuck. I'll tell you how we get stuck later. These all are valid. And because now you wrote in the formula for quota the invalid ballot papers, these are some of the examples which normally happen, that there are 4 candidates A, B, C, D. I give first preference to all of them. This is obviously invalid. Or let's say I'm not showing my preferences clearly for any of the 4 candidates, or I give second, third and fourth. I don't give first preference. Then all of these ballot papers, they become invalid. That's the start. Every PR system will have this preferential system. Ballot papers are used. When the electors, 100 in your case, they have casted their vote, we get all the ballot papers at one place. Election Commission organizes the election. We'll discuss that also in a bit. And once all of these ballot papers, they've come at one place, then what we do is we'll first start with, now this is very important, pay attention. Now what we'll do is we'll start with counting. And this is not the counting like we do in the direct elections where I count a candidate's vote. The one who gets the max, he becomes the winner. And that is all. There's only one round in that case. In this case, there might be a case that a round of counting ended and nobody got the quota. Then what to do? That's the problem here. So we'll start with first round of counting. I assume that there are 4 candidates A, B, C, D in the process, and I will all use hypothetical numbers. Don't ask me ये इतने वोट ही क्यों आए? ये हमने अपनी मर्जी से दिया आपको समझाने के लिए. Elections हुए, मैंने first round counting करी. First preference, obviously, I counted which preference? I counted the first preference. A got 45 votes, B got 25, C got 20, and D got 10. This is the result of the election after the first round of counting ends. Immediately, what Election Commission does is, it will first do what? पहला सवाल क्या है? You first understand, then you will write. First you try to understand, don't worry, I'll give you time to write. What's the first thing? Results. This is the count result. What to do? Yes, very good. I'd look at the quota. What is quota? 51. Has anyone got the quota? Now see, this is the problem. Nobody got the quota. Should I go for a re-election? No. So now listen to me. That is why every election by proportional representation is very logically added, suffixed by single transferable vote. Now see what happens. Very simple, be attentive. Now we'll apply single transferable vote where I will look at the candidates who has got the least number of votes. D has got the least number of votes. ABC से हमें कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. जिसके सबसे कम आए, that is candidate D. I will look at candidate D. That is all. Pick up his 10 ballot papers. I don't care about A, B and C. Least के ballot papers उठाए, 10 के 10. I pick up the 10 ballot papers where D had got the least votes, least first preference votes. These 10 ballot papers, listen to me now carefully, these ballot papers will be transferred to the remainder. जिसके सबसे कम उसके बैलेट पेपर फिर से खोले, फिर से इलेक्शन कमीशन ओपन करेगा. ठीक है, फिर से ओपन करेगा, क्या देखेगा? नेक्स्ट प्रेफरेंस, अगली वरीयता. In these 10 ballot papers, I have counted the first preference. Now the next preference, which I'll count, automatically becomes second preference. Second preference, not in all the ABC. Don't get confused. Only the candidate who has got least number of votes. His next preference, I counted the first. So I'll count now the second preference votes. In these 10 ballot papers, out of ABC, the ones who get the second preference votes, let's say in the first ballot paper, second preference goes to A. So I'll add +1 to the vote count of A. ऐसे एक एक करके, one by one, all the 10 ballot papers, they are opened. I look at the next preference because I counted first. Next becomes second. Looking at the next preference, I then transfer to ABC. Once I have transferred all the 10, then we'll go to, pay attention on the screen, then we'll go to which round? Subsequent round. अगला चरण, अगला दौर, गिनती का अगला चरण, जिसको हम बोलेंगे यहां पे second round. Don't ask me from where these numbers have come. They all are hypothetical. In the first round, A had got 45, B had got 25, C had got 20. This is the first round result. These 10 ballot papers I transfer to ABC. All the numbers are hypothetical. Don't ask me from where these numbers came. I am assuming that out of these 10, 7 of them, 7 ने जिन 10 लोगों ने पहली वरीयता डी को दी थी, उसमें 7 ने दूसरी प्रेफरेंस किसको दी? ए को. ये माना गया है, अज्यूम किया है आपको समझाने के लिए. ये मत पूछिए 7 ही क्यों, 5, 4, अज्यूम किया है समझाने के लिए. +2 assume goes to B. One of them goes to C. This round of counting ends. Again the same step. What will EC do? Check quota. Has someone got the quota? Yes, absolutely right. Has someone got the quota? The one who has got the quota will be declared as the winner. Pay attention. Now the next thought I'll tell you in some of the students is, what if nobody gets the quota at the end of second round? That is not important for the exam. You have a thought. The ones who still have a problem, they can meet me after the class. The online ones, you cannot meet me after the class, but that's not important. We just want to see that in single transferable vote, the idea is, in single transferable vote, we always evade the possibility of re-election we open the ballot papers of the one who has got the least number of votes and thereby transfer. उसी के खुलेंगे जिसके सबसे कम है, अ ब स के नहीं खुलेंगे, बी के खुलेंगे जिसके कम है, उसकी सेकंड प्रेफरेंस या अगली वरीयता देखेंगे. ये आगे चलता रहेगा जब तक किसी भी कैंडिडेट का कोटा नहीं आता और अंत में मान लीजिए किसी का कोटा नहीं आया और एक व्यक्ति रह गया, चाहे उसके 45 वोट ही क्यों ना हो, उसको हम विजेता घोषित करेंगे. You write this point. You write all of this, you need to write it. First you write it, then I'll discuss the points. Have you drawn this? Okay, that's okay. Take your time, draw it. Don't worry. Quickly draw these things. This is because should I go to the next screen now? The ones in the end, all of you? Right. Should I go ahead or not? Yes or no? Okay, then write it quickly. What's the time? Simple diagram. Quickly write it. Should I go ahead, all of you? Yes or no? Yes. Now, have a look at this. Write the same way as I write whatever I wrote. Now there are 2-3 doubts. I know what will be the doubts. You write, then I'll ask you those doubts. Though you should have known the answer, but that's okay. Have you understood, right? Now I'll tell you the doubts. Don't worry. Did all of you write? How many of you wrote? Raise your hands. I'll talk to you only then. Yes, the ones who wrote, I'll talk to only you. The other ones you write down. There are 2-3 doubts which are logical. What's the doubt? The ones who've written it already, quickly raise your hands. Stretch your hands up in the air. Yes, anyone? Yeah, what's the doubt that you would have from this topic? Then, no, that's not relevant. Then we have to we have to cancel C's ballot papers and transfer the 21 in favor of A and B. I want to ask you a question. What if all the ABCD got the same number of votes? I deliberately chose 45, 21 and so on and so forth. What if all the 4 they get 25 apiece? And again, what if C and D they get the same number of votes and the least number of votes? देखिए 2 सिंपल से सवाल हैं यहाँ पे. एक तो अ ब स ड चारों के बराबर वोट आए 25 25 25 25 और C और D they get the least. Instead of getting 20 and 10, I say C gets 15 and D gets 15. Now who to transfer? No. For this, I did not make you write in the rules. I know nothing. All the rules are silent. The written sources in polity from where I'm teaching, and this has never happened. It will actually never happen. I'll tell you this also. If it ever happens, I don't know what to do. Whether C has to be transferred, D has to be transferred, second, third, fourth, fifth. I don't know that at all. That is something that never happens. And if it ever happens by chance, then the authority, which I'll just tell you right at the end of today's class, that authority who is conducting the elections, who's the whole and soul, it's like me organizing class representatives election. 2 candidates, they get the same number of votes, the maximum ones. Who to declare the winner? That's my decision. So all of these doubts that you have, all 4 last 2, all the rules, they are silent. So we don't know anything. So which means nobody will ask you in the exam. Don't worry about that. They all are relevant. Is it fine? Yes. What if the Supreme Court? Very good. That's a good question. I'll discuss that point. Let the class get over. We'll discuss. That's very important. Is it fine? Is it fine? Is it fine? Should I go ahead? So the larger thought is we are discussing these details from the rules. proportional representation plus single transferable vote is given in the constitution, and how the counting actually happens, the details of the counting is given in the rules. So for the exam, you just need to know PR plus STV. For your inquisitiveness, we have discussed this application. Is it fine? Now let's conclude this discussion. Put a horizontal line. Let's go to the next topic. Write down. Now see, you will now see some more details of the law. That is the point I told you at the start of the class. You write down. I'll explain you. Don't worry. Write down. Write down as per Article 71. As per Article 71. Very important. Actually came up in the prelims. Last year. This year, 23. This year means last exam. I'll discuss this point later. As per Article 71, comma, the Parliament by law can provide for the Parliament by law can regulate the election. That same thing, can provide for, what's the sentence? May by can provide for regulation of the election of the president. Regulation of the election of the president and the vice president. Right? And the vice president, very important law. And thereby the Parliament has enacted. And thereby the Parliament has enacted. Put a hyphen and you now write it as a heading. We'll enter this law now. Has enacted. Anyone knows? Somebody who's read before? Some of you might have read before. No? No one has read? That's very good then. Write down. Write down presidential and vice presidential Election Act 1952. Has anyone heard this law? How? Presidential and Vice Presidential Election Act 52. See how beautifully this idea plays out. Like I told you, this diagram should be in your head to understand the details under the law. Remember this diagram. We cannot write everything in the constitution. So we let the Parliament by law regulate the election. Right? 71 allows the Parliament to make a law. That is what you wrote in your notes, and see what you write in this law. Very interesting. Beautiful, interesting point. Write down the first clause. Write down the first clause. First clause in the law. Tell me, explain me. It's very simple English. Write down the nomination paper of the candidate. The nomination paper, in Hindi we call it Namankan Patra. Very good. Nomination paper, you understand? It's just a legal way to convey that you are the candidate. If I want to organize election for the post of class representative, I'll say candidates can file a nomination till, let's say, 29th of February. So you will fill in a form. your name, your details, your identity card, your educational records, your income assets, such these things we write. You understand? And you cannot lie. If you lie in the nomination form because you have to give an affidavit, it's a legal proof that you're giving to me. Then in that case, I'll then come to your question. Who decides the dispute that you asked me? In the light of who decided the dispute for the mayor's election in Chandigarh? No, I know that. I also read newspapers, by the way. But that is a question that you need to ask for every election. I'll tell you, that's my second thought. You write down the nomination paper of the candidate has to be subscribed. A technical term in polity simply means, in English, signed. Subscribed, signed by at least 50 electors as proposers and at least 50 as seconders. At least 50 as seconders. Second is also, you would have known your general knowledge in politics. Second, the candidate needs to deposit a security amount of 15,000. Security amount of, not much though, 15,000, which shall be what? जमानत राशि जब्त कर ली गई, which shall be forfeited, which shall be forfeited if the candidate does not secure a new term, by the way, return, does not secure 1/6 of the votes required to 1/6 of the votes required to 1/6 of the votes required to, that is English polity, but you understood, the one who said that term, required to return 1/6 of the votes required to return, even this is fine, return a candidate. And number 3, write down. The third is another reflection of a point that we know already. Third, write down. Election dispute can be raised by the candidate. Visible in the end? Is it fine? Election dispute can be raised by a candidate. Or at least, कम से कम, at least 20 electors. at least 20 electors. Is it clear? Fine, visible? Visible or no? Should I scroll the screen up a bit? One is saying no, other is saying yes. Is it fine now? That's the two of you, right? What's the meaning of this law? What's the feel? As a citizen, if you see this law, what's the feel? What's the feel of this law? Tell me. क्या समझ में आ रहा है इस लॉ से? बिल्कुल 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 सही समझा आपने. समझ में आया सबको? क्या समझ में आया? कि कोई भी व्यक्ति, every Tom, Dick and Harry should not contest the election. But the question is, how can a Tom, Dick and Harry be the president? How can he contest? He can. That's the beauty and a beautiful interplay. When we will study at the start of the next class, you will study for the first time the qualifications which are enshrined in the constitution, the criteria is given in the constitution to be the president. They are so simple, and that's the beauty. We have kept the highest position in the constitution extremely open-ended. We want the largest pool of people to come up and fight the post. We don't want to disregard all of them. But then people took it seriously. Many of the people who didn't even know who the president is, they thought election हो रहा है, नामांकन पत्र भर देते हैं. आपने नामांकन पत्र तो भर दिया, पर election commission has to print your names in the ballot paper. The administrative work increased, and that is why I cannot write everything in the constitution. That is why I told you, the deeper you go in sources, the more detailed are the provisions. That's the beauty of this law. We got this law in 52. The first provision I actually inserted in this law in 1974. The list of the candidates was a huge one from 52 to 74. Though I made the law in 52, I amended in 74, and we made a stringent condition. What a beautiful way. Till 74, so many candidates. The moment I got this amendment, post 1974 till the last 122, I've seen just 2 candidates contesting the elections because of the first clause. Look at this. At least 50 need to sign the nomination paper. Another 50 need to second. Don't get stuck in these technical terms, proposers, seconders. At the end of the day, the point is very simple. If you want to be the president, you got to fulfill the qualifications. In your nomination paper, I need to see the signatures of either 100 MPs, 100 MPs और 100 MLAs. एक का सिग्नेचर लेना ही नामात्र मतलब नामुमकिन है. 100 ऐसे इलेक्टर्स का, चाहे 100 MP हो, चाहे 100 MLA हो, चाहे 100 MP and MLA हो. We don't want to get stuck there. I just wrote electors. So all these questions have already answered from the letter. When I say electors, I don't care about who are the electors. It has to be definitely MP, MLA. Get me 100 signatures, and then I accept your nomination paper. In July 22, like all the elections, many of them, they filed nominations. Many of them, they were all qualified, but had their nomination papers getting rejected, except to BJP, that obviously could arrange. It's a cakewalk. And then for Congress, it was a brownie walk. They were the main party at center, main opposition party. So only 2 of them, they got their numbers agreed. Normally, when they file nomination papers, just to also tell you, they filed 3-4 nomination papers. So BJP had taken 100, 100, 100, 100. So that what if one gets rejected? Because if it gets rejected, then the game is up. It happened once, you know that. In 1977 elections, there were many candidates, all of them had their papers getting rejected, except the only one left, and thereby he unanimously became the president. Who was he? Yeah, Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy. That is connected with a very interesting election, which I was telling you. The only interesting one was lost by him in 1969. I'll discuss that point in the next class. So, first point is, so in fact, that's the point. You will witness elections to Lok Sabha in April, May. You would want to know that what is the detailed condition of the election, how many how many proposers, seconders need to be presented by the nomination in the nomination paper. In fact, if any one of you in class, if you have ever contested any election in your life, be the head boy, head girl, college president, university president, college mess secretary, hostel president, a big post, you would have definitely filled a nomination paper and you would have actually shown the proposers and seconders. Definitely, I'm damn sure about it. If no, then that election was a... Do you understand my point? First, now pay attention. Second, first is more important. Second is simple, 15,000 rupees you have to deposit, and then there's a least number of votes you have to get to save the security amount. I wrote return here. Return is a term in polity which we write. You'd study about returning officer. Return, don't get stuck. Return simply means win. When we write return in polity, that simply means you require 1/6 of the votes required to win the election. राष्ट्रपति का चुनाव जीतने के लिए जितने वोट चाहिए, उसका 1/6 हिस्सा कम से कम आपको चाहिए अपना जमानत राशि बचाने के लिए. 1/6 of the votes required to win the election. That is what 1/6 of 1/6 of what? 1/6 of what? 1/6, very good. 1/6 of the votes required to win the election. You win the election by getting the quota. Thereby, 1/6 of the quota of the votes is required for you to not win the election, to save your security amount. Your grandparents and parents, if you've heard them, they are in politics and they discuss. They would say that इस बार तो लोकसभा के चुनाव में ये इतना कैंडिडेट इतना बुरा काम किया है, इसकी जमानत राशि भी नहीं बचेगी. सुना है आपने? इसका मतलब क्या है कि उसकी परफॉर्मेंस इतनी बुरी है, वो तो हारेगा ही. जमानत राशि बचाने के लिए कुछ फिक्स नंबर ऑफ वोट्स है, वो भी नहीं उसको मिलेंगे. जमानत राशि का मतलब ये होता है सिक्योरिटी अमाउंट. इकोनॉमिक क्राइटेरिया टू इंडिकेट द सीरियस कैंडिडेट्स पार्टिसिपेट, राइट? And the last is 20 electors, and the candidate, we have got no stakes. Only 2 type of people can raise dispute. They can question the election result. Pay attention, all of you. Only 2 type of them, they can question the results. One is either the candidate, Mr. Yashwant Sinha, or second, I need to get in signatures of the 20 electors. Then now don't ask me 20 MPs or 20 MLAs. That's irrelevant. 20 electors means I don't care, any permutation combination. In the election for the mayor, the candidate had raised the dispute in the Supreme Court. I'll discuss that point later in the class, not at this point. It's too early. It's too depth. In the exam, that election will not be asked. This will be asked. It was asked actually last year. ठीक है? But अब अगले उस पे आइए, हेडिंग दीजिए. अभी हमें एक आर्टिकल और proposers, seconder means supporters. Proposers, seconders means supporters. Is it fine? The one who asked me. Right, very good. Now you conclude this topic and give this heading 71. Write down. Next is Article 71. Now the best part of the class is coming here, and this came up in the exam in 2023. This last year it came up in the exam, a straight question from the article. This is Article 71. Article 71 in bracket, write down. Write down, also applicable. Also applicable to the Vice President. Very important. CSP 2023. What is CSP? A new source? Yeah, Civil Services Prelims. Article 71. First point is very simple. First clause. Election disputes. Election disputes, quickly. Election disputes of P and VP. Who is P? Obviously. Election disputes of P and VP are adjudicated. by the Supreme Court. Obviously, highest court has been given the powers. Election is of the highest authority, number one in the country. Do you understand? Number one authority. That election result can be protested, disputed. Let's say Mr. Yashwant Sinha said that there was bribery practiced. He said that EC did not count the votes properly. Who decides a dispute? Supreme Court, a heavy provision. You cannot go to the Supreme Court like that, can you? Your and my dispute gets decided where? The district court. But here you go to the Supreme Court, in bracket, the type of questions that come from judiciary is what you write now. Write down, therefore, a part of, very important term, very, very, very important term. This is the lens by which they ask you questions in judiciary. Supreme Court, High Court में questions इसके around आते हैं, इन facts के around आएंगे. लिखिए, therefore, part of exclusive मतलब कोई और नहीं सिवाय Supreme Court and original part of exclusive and original. What is original? Rest is artificial. What is original jurisdiction? As a logical thought. Very good. Original jurisdiction means what a strange. So basically, jurisdiction means what are the different types of cases that can go to the Supreme Court. You and me cannot go to the Supreme Court. They'll say go to the district court. Yahan kyun aage? Highest court. Just 34 judges. That is all. So there are very few examples in the Constitution where you can straight away go to the Supreme Court. Straight away. Original means it will be originated in the Supreme Court, and that is a rare provision. Election of P and VP, one of the rare areas in your discussion you would have in polity for courts, Supreme Courts. High Court has got no power. District Court, obviously, forget it. The only authority and the first authority is the Supreme Court. I'll tell you one more thing. You've started fundamental rights? No, I'll tell you one more thing. That's the biggest point. You should be proud of that. If your fundamental rights get violated, you can go straight to the Supreme Court and the High Court. So Supreme Court has got original jurisdiction with respect to your fundamental rights violation, but it doesn't have exclusive. ऐसे पूछेंगे, amongst the following, what are or what constitute or what come under exclusive or original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court? A, writ jurisdiction, B, election of P and VP, and C, something else. Do you understand? So when you think about Supreme Court and High Court, first question is what type of cases will go there for the exam, right? Second is logical follow-up of first, but we write in the Constitution. Second, write down, if the election is declared void, void means cancelled. If the election is declared void, election is declared void by the Supreme Court, declared void by the Supreme Court, declared void by the Supreme Court, then the actions taken by the President or VP, meant for VP also, actions taken by the P or VP, actions taken by the P or VP, will they remain valid? What will happen to the actions? If Mrs. Murmu's election gets cancelled or void today, what about the actions she has taken since July 22 till now? Will they remain valid, invalid? Write down, yeah, it is valid, but it's written by lawyers, so they write in a complex way. That's also a criticism. Write down, shall not be, understood? Shall not be invalidated. Is it clear that side? Clear or not? Simple points, there's not much to open up. Shall not be invalidated. The third is what I'm interested in the most, which is basic, but it's connected with this thought. It's connected with this thought. This diagram. Now I'll tell you something about a court judgment also. Is it fine? So you keep this lens in your head and write down, if there's a vacancy, in electoral college, electoral college is a technical term again in constitution. It means what? If there's a vacancy in electoral college, I basically mean I'm talking about electors. The electors to the post of class representative are the students of this batch. If I write in the constitution, I'd write the electoral college consists of the students of this batch. It means the same. Right? Technical term, so we read as electors. If there is any vacancy in the electoral college, then such vacancy shall it have any effect on the election? What do you think? The batch on the first day, let's say, had a strength of 500. They admission 500. Today, let's say 20 of the students, they've left the batch. Their seats got vacated. They are no more members of this batch. 480 are left. I organized the election to the post of class representative. Can we question the result on the fact that all the 500 were not there on the day of election? Obviously no. The same thing we write here. Exactly the same way. So you write down, then such vacancy shall have no effect. Shall have no effect. Is it clear? Shall have no effect on the election of the president. Shall have no effect on the election of, quickly write down, election of the president. So if one member of parliament, two members of parliament, or a couple of state MLAs, let's say they would have resigned, or let's say they would have died, or some of them would have got disqualified and will study for the exam, what circumstances would lead to vacancy? If any of those circumstances happened and on the date of the election, the entire 776 and 4120, they were not present, then the constitution simply says, quite logical, you will not question. We can never actually have all the entire strength for the election. So if there's a vacancy, then the election will automatically proceed. Right? And now you write down, very important, the best part, write down, if in the bracket, constitution has written just 3 clauses, now we'll write some details in the bracket. See this, how it fills a beautiful void. Who fills the void? No. Conventions cannot. How can conventions fill the void? Voids in written rules are filled by who? Supreme Court. See what you write. Write down, interpreting in the bracket. Okay, you wrote if, cancel if, and write down. I don't by heart the notes and come to the class. Cancel if and write down, interpreting the above mentioned clause. Interpreting the above mentioned clause. The Supreme Court has ruled, very important term, very heavy, very simple, very important. Has ruled. If legislative assembly of a state, legislative assembly of a state, legislative assembly of a state has been dissolved. Underline 1 times, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, let the paper rip off. Very important as a term. Has been dissolved, then such dissolution shall have no effect on the election of the president. Have you known this term dissolve? Where in chemistry? Yes, chemistry you would have read. Salt dissolves in water. Sugar dissolves in water. Can you find out the salt particles? It has dissolved. In polity, the same way, listen to me carefully, this is a very heavy term, beautiful term. We'll repeat it in every class, I think. In some unique circumstances, possibilities, situations, the people's houses, the houses that represent the interest of people, houses of the people means what? Lok Sabha at center. Number 2, legislative assembly in a state or UT. These two are houses and they represent the people. I discuss and tell you in my classes later. The term dissolution is used in polity only for the people's houses. But anyways, we'll discuss this thought later. If any of the circumstances that we don't know, we'll discuss them later. They operate just like salt dissolves in water. The people's houses can get dissolved where the entire house gets vacated. All the representatives in that people's house, be it Lok Sabha at center or be it legislative assembly in a state, they will not be the members. It's like saying that the institute has given you classes for 10 months, 11 months. But if we dissolve this batch, then all your classes end. This batch is vacated. All the seats are vacated. You are no more members of this institute. Even before the 10-month period, even before the term that these houses are, they can dissolve. So when I say that legislative assembly got dissolved or it's dissolved, the first thing that strikes you is there is no representative. The entire state assembly. The representation at second tier is empty. Which means, how is it correlated to my discrepancy which I asked you? I asked you that discrepancy, remember?
31 states.
What is, discrepancy, 31 states and UTs and now dissolution. Correlate the three and tell me, what is the point I'm trying to make? Yes. Why? Very good. I appreciate that. Tell me, what's the discrepancy? No. First tell me the discrepancy which I was discussing. Look at the handout. Again, look at the handout. You have the handout, the online ones. Look at the heading. The title is what? Title of the handout. Election of the president. उसके बाद वो तो नहीं, उसके मेरी हेडिंग नहीं पढ़नी, टेबल की हेडिंग. What's the heading? Title. What's the title of the table? I've taken from the EC's website. I've not tampered with it. मिल रहा हैंड आउट या वो भी नहीं मिल रहा? पहला पन्ना, पहला पृष्ठ मिला आपको वहां पे दाहिने कोने पे? Yes. What's the title? Title of the table, yaar. What is wrong with you? Heading of the table. Presidential election 2017. We are in 24. I should have used the last election table 22. I used 7 years back. Why? What's the reason? Yes, because in the last election, you saw the manifestation of the Supreme Court judgment that you wrote. All the 31 states and UTs, did they participate? No. The 30 states and UTs participated. You would like to know this very interesting fact. The Legislative Assembly of the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir, ever since November 2018, which is now, if we count, almost 5.5 years, that's more than the 5-year term the popular houses have in the constitution. Ever since November 2018, because the erstwhile state has been put under a very interesting power, came up in the mains this year. This is an article you cannot forget. The state has been put under President's rule, which is regulated by a beautiful provision we'll discuss in detail, came up in the exam mains this year, 15 marker, 250 words. It's called as 356. The provisions of President's rule in a state are given in 356, and as a consequence of President's rule in a state, look at it. Look at the fabric of President's rule. The elected representatives in the state assembly chosen by you, they are totally removed. It becomes empty. And that's the consequence of the President's rule and how the Constitution, this is opposite to what I'd started in 54. I told you 54 is the example of federalism. This is the best example of the centricism that we have in the Constitution. Both of them actually, they represent opposite ends of the continuum. अगर 54 फेडरलिज्म का बेस्ट एग्जाम्पल है तो 356 बेस्ट एग्जाम्पल है यूनियन प्रोविजंस ऑफ द इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. Thereby, in the last election in 22, the Legislative Assembly of J&K, because it was dissolved by the reason of 356. That is why the people in J&K were represented by their 7 members of parliament in the Lok Sabha, 4 members of parliament in the Rajya Sabha, 11 of them were at the second tier, because the Supreme Court has given the expansive understanding of this third provision in 71. We proceeded with the election despite the fact that Legislative Assembly of J&K is not present. Now, before I end the class, we have to complete this topic. You need to tell me at the start of the next class what actually changed in your class notes regarding vote values because of the fact that the Legislative Assembly of the entire erstwhile state of J&K was dissolved. क्या बदलेगा आपकी क्लास नोट्स में, हमें आप बताइए. अगली क्लास में हम एक बहुत ही हैवी कॉन्सेप्ट जिसका कोई परिभाषा कुछ नहीं, कहीं नहीं दिया गया, ऑफिस ऑफ प्रॉफिट डिस्कस करेंगे. आप हैंडआउट को पढ़ सकते हैं, ना भी पढ़ें तो कोई बात नहीं. और उस कक्षा को हम अंत करेंगे पहला टॉपिक इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर मेंस, जिसको हम बोलेंगे impeachment of the president. You just need to revise. Please revise and come to the class. If you don't, then you don't understand. Online, once you think about the change in the class notes in the light of the assembly of J&K getting dissolved. Is it fine? The doubts that you asked me, they were irrelevant. They'll come to you automatically. Have patience. Thank you. Good afternoon.